see you. And thank you for joining us this evening. And thank you so much for being a friend of the library. You know, and I see from the gallery that most of us are friends of the library. I see there's one or two people who are not. So I would say welcome. I am so happy that you are joining us this evening. And if you like the programs and you like what we're doing, please check us out. Go to www.stirlingfriends.org and become a friend so that you too can contribute, so that we can hire people who as fabulous as Shelly is, and Batya and Robert Watson and all the rest. But it's only because of people who are supporting us that we are able to do this and serve the community and also offer the great programs to you. As I said earlier, we are now at a crazy place where we are transitioning and we're experimenting with what to do. We are going to continue our daytime programs to continue the way they were pre-COVID. In other words, Walter Ladden's music is going on during the day. Miriam's short stories is beginning to go on during the day. Her first one in the library will be this Tuesday, the 29th at 1:30. But you know, you get your newsletter, check your newsletters and make sure that you know, we're going to try and designate which, right, Joyce? We're going to try and designate which are virtual and which are in person. Please be patient with us. We need your feedback. If it's confusing to you, unless you tell us, we're not going to know. So we need your help as well. Miriam short stories, chair yoga will be back during the day. Candy Haggerty's Monday matinee movies will be back during the day. This is totally different from Shelly. She just takes local current movies, shows them and talks to you about it. We call it Monday matinee. She will be the second and fourth Monday in the afternoon, starting in April. Please check us out and join us there as well. There are others. I'm not going to continue. You'll check it out yourself. Our evening Zooms at 7 will continue. Shelly will still be here at 7. Batya will still be here at 7. Whoever we have, Marjorie Marcus, by the way, next Wednesday at 7, we'll be talking about the Royals. Now, if you are, you know, Joyce and I being Canadian, we grew up at the Royals. So if you're interested at all at the royal family, it was excellent last time she spoke to us, and I'm sure she's going to be excellent again. So tune in again, read your newsletter, and register and join us. I think that's all I have to say to you. If I've confused you, I'm really sorry. And if you have questions, you can contact Joyce, me, Hannah, Julie, whoever you want. We'll give you the best answer that we can. And just be patient with us, and we will make it excellent. So talking about excellence just takes me to Shelly, who is excellent, and so happy to have him on board with us. And again, it's because of you, so thank you for welcoming Shelly. And in addition to doing FIU and FAU and all the many things he does, he makes time for us, for which I am so grateful, and we are so grateful. So tonight we're going to hear all about the Shoplifters, which was fascinating to me, and I'm sure to you, but what's even more fascinating is what he's going to tell us afterwards that, of course, I missed. So Shelly, it's all yours.
Thank you, Marilyn. And it's great to be back, and welcome everybody. It's good to see familiar faces. Now you are familiar. This film, Shoplifters, from 2018 from Japan. Director's name is Hirokazu Kore-eda. Hirokazu Kore-eda. He wrote, edited, and directed the film, which he does for most of his films. This film won the Palme d'Or, the Golden Palm, at the Cannes Film Festival. It was also nominated for an Academy Award. It was one of the finalists for Best Foreign Language Film. Kore-eda is an interesting director. I'll tell you a little bit about him before I get into the film. His main themes deal with family structure. And so this is one in a long list. They deal with family structure, children, aging, and the life cycle, exploring all with a sensitive and melancholic style, as you've seen. Beginning in 2003, he did a film called Nobody Knows, which also won a Cannes, and the star of that film was a 12-year-old boy, which won Best Actor for that film. It put together different children from different fathers, was the story, in a Tokyo apartment, and left them alone. The mother abandons them in the apartment to create their own sibling bonds after she leaves. They ranged in age from 3 up to 12. His film that he followed up with in 2008, Still Walking, explored familiar relationships, revealing the bitterness and repression of feelings that were the result of the death of a favorite son years before. Very much followed the themes of another great Japanese director. Some of you may have heard of Yasujiro Ozu, who directed Tokyo Story, and his films follow that pattern. Subsequently made a film in 2011 called I Wish. Now, these are all films which are accessible, by the way, and they're all worthwhile. I Wish cast two young brothers, 9 and 11, at opposite ends. They live with two different parents at opposite ends of a city when parental discord places one twin with the aggrieved mother and the other with the feckless father, but saw brotherly connections maintained by the prospect of a new bullet train. And from a split of two brothers, he went to a switch of two children in 2013 with a film called Like Father, Like Son, where the discovery of a hospital mix-up left a posh architect and his happy, scrappy shopkeeper and a happy shopkeeper realizing they've been bringing up each other's biological offspring for the previous 6 years, setting up an exchange to test the very meaning of parenthood. So he was on the way to testing what family means by this film. Meanwhile, he made a film in 2015 called Our Little Sister, the death of a patriarch who'd long since given up his family and 3 daughters for a second wife, and offers them a chance to rebuild bridges when they learn that he had another daughter. They have a half sister from a second marriage, and she invites them to come and live with them. By contrast, he created a film in 2016 called After the Storm. It's the story of a shambling young man trying to put things back the way they were, meaning his family, his wife, and his child. After a typhoon lands him, his son, and his ex-wife under the same roof to reconsider where it all went wrong. And here we have something a little different with Shoplifters. A socially engaged film with a light touch, a delicate, deceptive, and profoundly moving drama about the forces that hold a family together. It's a universal look at the definition of a family, love, and of course, justice. It's the story of what family means, a story about a man trying to be a father, and furthermore, a coming of age story for a young boy. On the margins of Tokyo, this dysfunctional band of 3 generations of outsiders united by a fierce loyalty, a penchant for petty theft and playful grifting. When a climactic event occurs, secrets are exposed that upend their tenuous, below the radar existence and test their quietly radical beliefs of what exactly defines a family. It's ultimately a haunting film about abandoned people and the beautiful things that are lost and found between them. It's a film that asks us to reflect on where they belong and what actually belongs to them. You don't get to choose your own family. We know that. But family is still a choice that you have to make over and over again, each and every day. These characters, Osamu Shibata, the father, the leader of this band, Nobuyo, the mother, her final speech funnels all the feeling that has come before in this film. That final speech she makes at the end is wonderful. You have Aki Shibata, Nobuyo's sister, a sex worker who uses her younger sister's name when she's at the sex work. And then you have Shota, the son. And of course, we have Hatsu Shibata, the grandmother, a wonderful character. And we have Yuri, who we meet at the beginning of the story. They're connected in any number of different ways, through love, through money, through loneliness, through scars. Money deserves a second mention, also petty thievery. The film explores complex questions like the nature versus nurture, or what exactly is the definition of a family? Ultimately, it's an utterly absorbing journey, one in which we must pay attention to every nuance of behavior and throw away asides to pick up what this family is actually made of. Kore-eda provides us a gradual accumulation of information, taking time to put the whole puzzle together. I do hope you enjoyed this film because it's just such a wonderful story, let alone the characters. But what he creates is he manages to get our empathy for characters who are on the lower rung of society and are actually grifting. We feel empathy for them. It spends the first 90 minutes of the film allowing us to soak in all the everyday hopes and concerns of these characters. And the last 30 minutes of the film twists them together and then pulls them apart, wringing every last drop of humanity from the Shibata clan. We see the ragtag mob becoming a family in all but name before our very eyes, as Kore-eda spends considerable screen time in their ramshackle house. I love that set. Meal times, banter, domestic routines unfold to progressively beguiling effect, shaped by that canny underplaying from the adults and the sunshiny, utterly natural performances that Kore-eda always gets from child actors. He's a master at directing children, and we see it here. No one is exactly as they seem. That's the beauty of the film. There's a tremendous amount of revelation in this film. And yet their choice to love each other, their decision to care has been as real as it gets, What really makes this special is the sheer depth of compassion and knowing humanity that he invests with every frame, especially the highlight of bonding, the bliss over a sudden snowfall when the snow starts to fall and they build the snowman, or that day out at the beach with Hatsu, the grandmother staring at them, the would-be grandmother staring at them as if she is truly the matriarch of this so-called family. She takes possession of them. And when Osamu reunites with Shota at the end, when he catches up with him to those last scenes at the end, they all seem they're less than like stage Kodachrome moments and more like fragmentary joys to be preserved as sustenance during the hard times to come. All that came before when they finally split up is provides them with these memories that they will have forever. The notion of you can't choose your family is upended in this film. You can't choose your family. The Shibatas prove that. In defiant response to the marginalized social status that has denied them the choices in life that are pretty much taken for granted by other more sober citizens. When we look at each of the characters and become attached to them despite their situations, Aki, first of all, the kind of work she does, a sex worker, which is what it's termed, actually exists in Japan. This is an actual profession. It wasn't created for the film. This is actually behavior that goes on. And the name she uses when she's hidden behind the mirror is her younger sister's name. So behind the magic mirror, she becomes her younger sister. In essence, she becomes her younger sister. That all is part of that sense of invisibility, that no one can quite see them for who they really are, or necessarily see them at all. The society sees them for one thing, but they're not real. They're not a real family. They were put together. Osamu's comment, we're connected by our hearts. Remember, he makes a comment during the film, we're connected by our hearts, takes us under his skin, and he ultimately is transformed by his relationship with Shota. There are tense moments when he takes him out and he shows him how to crack the windows in the cars. And Shota conveys his memory of how he was found, that Osamu kidnapped them. Osamu kidnapped him. It's so odd that we take empathy for a guy who says, well, they didn't want you, obviously. They left you in a car. What parents leave a child alone in a car? He felt he can give this child more love, which essentially he does. And there's, Hatsu, the grandmother, she is the only real Shibata. She's the only one with the name Shibata. The rest of them took the name. They all adopt her name. And the reveal of what happened to her husband, which is hilarious, although it's shocking, makes sense within the context of who these people are. They are invisible to society. To have gone to the police and say he died would have split them up immediately and would have sent Hatsu to prison. So it was a matter of doing it the way they did it. And Nobuyu, like all mothers, makes the ultimate sacrifice out of love, especially with that final speech. She makes that ultimate sacrifice. For Shota, who we learned was left in the car as a child, actually kidnapped out of love in some uncanny way. Some of us, if not all, can justify that kidnapping from two parents who seem not to even care about leaving him, as I said. And then there is little Yuri. Little Yuri, I was saving her for last. Little Yuri, who is the catalyst for the whole story. Without her, we don't have the story because she really opens it up. Her scars speak volumes. Her scars speak volumes. When they see it, not much is said, and they speak volumes. And we see it on their faces when they see it. Yet we also see her transformation, not only in how she learns to shoplift. She's a willing accomplice, which gets them into trouble finally. But I love it when she's watching them in the store, and the first shopkeeper sees them, and he gives it a lollipop, and he says, "Don't do this. Don't teach her this." But she transforms not just as a shoplifter, but especially later on in her defiance to her real mother. Remember, she defies her. And in comparison to the mother who loves her and adopts her, her look at the camera in the end, that last shot, begs the ultimate question. What will become of her and children like her? What will become of her and children like her? The rationalizing by Nobuyu that taking in the children, it's not kidnapping if you don't ask for a ransom, how she justifies it. It's things should belong to whoever loves them the most. Things and people should belong to those who love them the most. Opens up a whole new level of understanding and motivation. Yes, this is ultimately a film about love in some startling manifestations. And if we look at it as shining a spotlight on those in every society, now is where it becomes universal. If we look at it as a spotlight in every society struggling with poverty, then maybe we can conceive of something of a hopeful, if very challenging ending if we react as a public and laws are enacted to save children like Yuri. Because you can't do anything. She lives with her two parents, or with her mother at least, and you can't get her away from her, no matter how badly she treats this daughter, abandoning her or whatever else. The set design in the film I thought was wonderful. That house that they live in. We saw a film that won the Academy Award a year later, Parasite. And the house was the star in Parasite. If for those of you who saw that film, the house in Parasite was the star. Well, here too, it was the star. This one room, and the house, as it was shot from the outside, was in the center of Tokyo. Yet it was invisible. It was overlooked. The trees were growing over it. It's as if nobody knew this house was there. And it was like rooms thrown together, much like the family. These rooms were all thrown together, much like this family. Shota's living in a closet. If you remember, Shota's living in a little closet. They all congregate in the center and behave openly in front of each other. I mean, Grandma takes the teeth out, puts them in. I mean, she's a hilarious character. She's absolutely wonderful. And when she goes to visit the parents, remember of one of the girls, and she's looking at the picture, and they're talking about the fact that she's in Australia. She's in Australia, and she's really living with them. It's like, she's just proving how dumb they are. Basically, the cinematography, it displays ways of building poetry within reality, the poetry of these people within the reality of what's going on. I mean, this is a world that's essentially broken, that these people are thrown together, and yet they find these moments that are just poetic, of love and understanding. Little Yuri with Shibata. I mean, when they're walking in the street, she's following him. I mean, it takes your heart out to watch these kids. And the music also captures the fantasy side of the story. It is lighthearted music that captures the fantasy of what's going on here. By the way, you should know that shoplifting in Japan is estimated to set that country back about 400 billion yen, which is $3.6 billion. Shoplifting sets Japan back $3.6 billion a year. The majority of shoplifters in that country are naturally motivated by economic strife, especially the elderly. The elderly are among the majority of shoplifters in Japan. 83% of all such arrests involve a theft committed at a supermarket. 83% of arrests of shoplifters are committed at a supermarket. So they're stealing food. That ultimately is what goes on. But this film, it garnered so many awards around the world, deservedly so. It's Academy Award nomination. I was pulling for it back then, by the way. I just thought it was a remarkable film of not just exploring, a Japanese situation, but it is a universal situation. One can imagine that here. One can certainly imagine that going on here or in Europe. It's not hard to see that, but the sensitivity with which he handles it, even the relationship that Yuri has in the that Aki has in the as a sex worker with the young man who also is lonely, and she reaches out to him in his loneliness. It's touching. It's touching. We get into each of these characters, and especially Osamu and Naboya, what threw them together, her bad relationship, her abusive relationship that Osamu gets her out of, and then finally they're together in the family they pick up along the way, and how touching is that at the end when he comes to see him, and they go out, he takes him to his apartment, they eat, they share, they go fishing. They are father and son. They are a father and son for all intents and purposes. And again, your heart goes out when he's on the bus and saying goodbye, and Osamu is running after the bus to say goodbye. I mean, it's heart-wrenching. It really is. It really is. You have to be a pretty hard person not to feel empathy in this film. So that's my breakdown, and I hope it helps illuminate a little bit. And I'd love to hear any questions, comments you have. So let's open up the floor. Bonnie's hand is up already. I like that. Okay, Bonnie.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. One about like when grandma is going to visit that young couple, Aika's parents. I'm a little bit confused about how grandma's husband died, and did he take another wife? I mean, because I was a little bit confused there as to what actually happened to her husband and why she's going down there to visit. Seems like some sort of shakedown, but I'm not quite sure for exactly what and why.
Well, it is.
How did Aika get to live with her? Do we know why Aika went to live with grandma, or we don't know?
Well, we have to suppose that, first of all, she knows who grandma is, and she probably wanted to get away from them. Her husband was with her, and when he died, so he left their mother, and he died in the house, and she buried him. And they all buried him in the house. That's why they bury her next with him. It's a little bit what's going on in the cellar. It's very funny. It's funny. It's shocking, but it's funny what happens. And yes, it was a shakedown. It was a shakedown. It's part of the grift. She's also a shoplifter. They shoplift kids. They shoplift identities. They shoplift from other families. There's shoplifting going on all over the place in this film. And it's just, but it's the fact that they are the invisible ones. Nobody really sees them. Those parents didn't even see her and what it was all about. She was shaking them down. They don't realize that she's not in Australia. She's at the house. They're in the same city and they don't even see her. They don't even know she's there. I mean, it's remarkable, when you think about these people and what's going on. So I hope that answers your questions.
Yeah, it does.
Shelly, there are some questions in the chat or comments in the chat.
Sure. Let me go in. Okay.
Alice has something to talk about, and so does Linda.
Yeah. Alice, is Yuri better off by being kidnapped by the family? Does that justify the kidnapping? How does this compare with social service agencies taking children from parents without their consent? Well, it's a sticky subject. I mean, if we stay within the frame of the film, we can justify it, okay, within the film itself, within the story. Of course, within society, no, it's a crime. It's a crime. The fact is, though, these parents, they who's going to know that they keep leaving him in a car? This kid could have died in the car. And as Osamu, says it, who leaves kids in cars like that? And we see that here when social services would take kids from a car, or take them away from their parents. Now, he's sidestepping that and not giving, social services a chance, but he's also not giving them a chance to leave them alone in the car and get killed or kidnapped by somebody who wouldn't be as nice as they are. So we have to rationalize within the concept of the film, is really what goes on here. And surprisingly, he establishes that, Kore-eda, the director, establishes that empathy for us in the way they treat him, in the way, the way he develops love for this family, the way they love him, Linda Pevar, I like the justification of stealing that in the store. The thing doesn't belong to anyone yet. Right. I also noticed the absence of music, but bells, and the justification of children who go to school can't study at home. Yes.
Shelley, going back to Ed's comment about social service, I was thinking about the immigrant children, down in Miami.
Sure. Sure. It's the same. People fall through the cracks. People fall through the cracks in society. These are the people that fell through the cracks, and I think that's and we have to understand that. I mean, not everybody gets into a good social service situation.
Right.
Certainly not. Not everybody. It comes from a functional family. It's really, and I think that's the things he's pointing at. And yes, in Japan, things may go a little differently, but this is really a universal story when it comes down to it. In fact, he based it on stories he had been reading about shoplifters. He based it on a story about two people that did have a kid. It wasn't a family, but that had a kid, and they eventually got caught. Okay. Now, who out there has a comment? Do I see any hands?
I have a question.
Marilyn.
I have a question. The actors, were they professional actors? Children professional? I mean, the children were delicious.
Yeah.
Especially that little Yuri. I mean.
Oh, well, Yuri's a veteran. She made 12 films before this. No, I'm kidding.
No, but how old was she anywads?
Oh, she was five or six.
Young. So was she as a
natural?
Yeah, she's a natural. He goes to schools. He looks for kids. He casts in schools. He's wonderful with children. And he loves directing children. They're the most natural actors. And he is able to get performances out of them that are just remarkable.
Awesome.
Just remarkable. But all the other kids they're not first timers. They've acted before, except for little Yuri. I mean, this is her first time. Yeah, she was terrific. Terrific. Thank you. Marilyn Rosh.
Yes, hi. What I loved was the concept of cold. They kept using cold, the word cold, and yet the warmth came from that family. So I thought that symbol was wonderful.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everything, they huddled together, everything, they felt each other, the beating of the heart, when he tells her, it's in your heart how you feel. It was wonderful. Mel, what's that shirt you have on?
Can you see it, Shelley?
That looks familiar, Mel.
What's that?
That's a shirt.
That's one of your shirts. That's true.
I know. That's a shirt. That's a shirt from, oh God, it's old. That's, you know what? You could probably sell it on eBay for a fortune.
Okay. In any case, Kelly, picture really defines what a family is.
Right.
Yes,
It's-
yes.
do you have to have children naturally to be the mother? Or can you be a
Right.
mother who shows love to an individual? And I think that's basically what they're showing. They're pointing out all these toxic households. A toxic household is a household where you have a parent who molests a child or is a drunk or whatever. And I think that comes through very clearly.
Yes, it does. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's the idea that it's not necessarily the mother who bears you, it's the mother who raises you. It's the, you know, you know, and that's really what's important. It's really what a lot of children learn along the way. You know, it's that are either adopted or
Legal
find
adoption.
someone that understands them and takes them in. It is, and that's what this film does show us. It shows us that families, it's a whole new definition of family. As I said before, the film, like Father, Like Son, really gets at that because it's about, as I said, two families, their children who switched at birth. In fact, there was a big scandal in Japanese hospitals back in the 80s. They used to identify children with a magic marker on their feet. That's how they identified them. So if you made a mistake, that child can go to the wrong family. And a nurse, in that film, a nurse does it on purpose because she wants the child, she sees a well-off family and she switches a child from a not well-off family to the well-off family, wanting to give them a break. I mean, this is how she rationalizes it. And it turns out what happens in that film is we see a blending of two families that become one family. Two families that become one family. It's incredible how he shows how two families become one family. And I got to tell you, it's also one of his best films. So if you have a chance, it's called Like Father, Like Son. In fact, it was so good, Spielberg picked up the rights to do it here, but as far as I know, he hasn't done anything with it yet. But it's the Japanese version is superlative, absolutely superlative. So who else? Anybody else out there? I see a hand, Barbara. Can you unmute? Can we
There.
unmute her?
Okay, I
Hey,
got it.
there you go. Good.
I just loved how I was sucked along into it. And the only thing that struck me as a little odd is that they took this child that they were obviously had no intentions of giving back. But everybody else seemed, normal. And you're so into it and so attached to everybody and interested in their stories before the bottom falls out.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
you're like, wait a minute. But it's too late then, because now you only just love everybody.
Now think of this. This is who is the ultimate grifter in the film? It's the director, because he
Yes.
grifted us.
Yes.
He grifted us. He
Yes.
sets this whole thing up. He did just you said the perfect thing. He sucks us in, and we want to believe in everything that goes wrong. We want to believe in all the wrong stuff that they make right.
Yeah.
It's the best kind of all.
It was.
Yeah. Okay. I got Matthew's name up there. It's not
Nora.
Matthew, I know that.
It's Nora. I
That's Nora.
thought the acting was just superb. I don't think I've ever watched a movie that I enjoyed the acting so much. And does the director use these actors in other movies that he has?
Only one. Oh no, I'm sorry. There are two that he uses quite a bit. The one who plays the father, the actor who plays the father, his name is Lily Frankie. Lily Frankie is a wonderful actor. I mean, I've seen him in other films, but he's acted in about four or 5 of Kore-eda's films. He's had featured roles and he's had starring roles. And like Father Like Son, he plays another father. And he also plays a wonderful character in that. He has a smaller role in Our Little Sister, and he's wonderful in that. He has a moment in that film where he stands out. So he's in a lot of his films. The actress who plays the grandmother, she passed away. This was her last film, and she had been in every one of his films. She is a lucky charm. She was, as he called her, his lucky charm. She was, well, actually, I can't say everyone, but everyone since the film Still Walking. She either plays a grandmother, a mother, and she always has a wonderful featured role in every film. Plus, she was in a film which I featured about a year or so ago, which I should do here. It's called Sweet Bean. Sweet Bean, and she plays a woman who has had leprosy, and she's absolutely, you fall in love with her all over again. She brings tears to your eyes and laughter to your heart. I mean, she's that wonderful an actress. And sadly she passed away. She was one of Japan's great character actresses.
How about the children? Are they in
No,
any
the
other
children-
movies? Did they become
No,
stars?
not yet, but I am sure they will show up. I am sure they will come back because he's used children more than once in his films. He sees them grow up, and if he can use them, he will.
But
If
has
he can use them, he will.
anyone else used them?
Yeah. They a lot of them do TV in Japan. They star in TV shows. They're in other movies. A lot of the films that they make you wouldn't see here. Unfortunately, they don't export a lot from Japan to the States. But when they pop up, I watch them and try to use them. Try to use the films. So
And I understand you're doing a December 3rd cruise.
yes. I can't sell on here. This is a nonprofit organization, but yes.
Check out your website, right, Shelley?
Well, my emails. If
Yes,
you
check out-
join my email list, yeah.
Right, and find out all the places you're going. That's a great idea.
Yeah. They can. I send out a flyer as soon as I know when I'm doing it, or call up Mel. He'll tell you.
They'll save some shirts.
Okay, Ed, you had a comment?
Okay, this is Alice. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure, Alice.
Okay, because I'm far from the microphone. Yeah, I was intrigued with the little hand motions that the children did before shoplift.
Yes.
What I made of it was that it was a little ritual, maybe given to them, maybe the kid made it up himself, maybe kind of to justify it or to ensure success. And I wanted to know your take on it.
Yeah, just what you're saying. It was a sort of a little ritual that he would do. It's basically, I think Osamu taught it to him. It's like a signal. It's a signal. That all grifters have signals that we're not aware of, and he developed that little signal, and which he teaches to her. And she easily adapts to it, which was what was funny. But yes, it was basically a grifter's trademark, if you will.
He's signaling somebody else. I don't understand what you mean.
Well, he was signaling. It was something that he did for himself, but she picked up on it.
Yeah.
She picked up on it, and she started to do it. So it became, it was something that it's almost like a prayer, for good luck. It's almost like a prayer for good luck that he can get away with it. But it's also like a signal. It's a signal to us. It's a signal, possibly a signal to her. But yes, it's a ritual. It was a little ritual that he developed. It was a private ritual that he develops to himself. But it was interesting in the film to watch him He goes through this, and then, he would have gotten away with it at that point when she lifts what was it, the fruit, and he, in essence, though, he takes the rap for her. That's how it all comes apart, is everyone comes in defense of everybody else, is what happened here. And that's because he didn't want her to get caught. He didn't want her to get caught, is basically what happened.
That little signal, it was especially interesting because they really spelled it out for us. They showed close up what he was doing. And it's interesting because usually one twiddles one's thumbs with the hands, and the thumbs go around and around, but actually this is the fingertips together, and then forefinger circles around each other. So to me, that's something a kid would put together.
What's that?
To me, that's something that a kid would put together.
Yeah, it's a kid's thing. Yeah, it would be a kid's thing. But it stays with them. It would be something that would stay with them. Thank you, Alice. Susan.
Well, just thinking about, I'm going to talk about something else, but the hand signal I thought gave him courage to do it. It was like taking a deep breath in, and then I can do this. What really got to me is I was also sucked into this movie. It was very long, and how everything came together. And then that one moment, everything just blew up in their faces. The family just came apart. But it really showed you what family was when you saw him getting on the bus after his visit to his so-called father, and then the little girl on the back all alone on that patio, and it was cold. And I said, they lost their family. So family isn't, we learned this very in our own way, family isn't only biological. And it was sad. It was really sad at the end to see that, to me, how lonely she was and how he went back to this situation at the family home. And it's really something. But if we think back in our past, I think sometimes we've had friends who always wanted to be at your house because your house was a warm house and you never thought anything about it. They would eat with your family or whatever. And I thought about that in my past. And I'm sure if people think about it with other people, that not maybe with your family or with you want to be at your aunt's house or whatever it was. So family is a very, very tenuous thing. Family is love and caring. And that's what we learn.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's a good comment to make on the film, but because also family is memory. It's memory. And each of them now carries a memory of what grandma, grandma had her own memories, but she gave them memories, and Osamu Nobuya gave them memories that they will take with them. And she, when she defies her mother, when little Yuri defies her mother, she's taking with her, the memories of what's happened before up to this point. But in the end, when she's looking at us, she's looking at us, and we're seeing the eyes of a child of what's going to happen. What's going to happen to me, what's going to happen to all children like that. But also the idea that she's not going to forget what she went through. She's not going to forget that, and she'll carry that with her. And hopefully it'll give her courage. So, that's the things we get. That's the things. Yeah, Marilyn.
Yeah, no, what you just said is what I was about to say. And it gave them strength. And I think that that's what we saw at the end, that little girl, the same miserable mother, but she was different. And yes, she was stronger. And as was the little boy, as he went off in the bus, there was more strength in him. He was able to say dad, but there was this, you saw that inward strength. So that was very encouraging.
Yeah. And you knew Osamu was going to wait. He was going to wait till she got out of prison. That was he wanted her, and he would, and what she did for them was remarkable at the end, the sacrifice she makes. Mel.
I thought it was very interesting that the boy had started to have qualms about what's right and what's wrong. And at the end, he says, I really wanted to get caught.
Yeah. It is interesting, he makes that remark. Remember when he's showing him how to, with the tool to break into a car, and he makes that remark to him, is that how you did it for me? Remember he says, is this what you did with me? So he feels, did you steal? Is this how you stole me? He doesn't forget. He doesn't forget that, despite the fact that he also got love from him. But you make a very interesting point, is the fact that as a child, little Yuri doesn't distinguish between right and wrong. To her, stealing is natural. They're teaching her it's natural. Whereas he's growing up, he's coming of age, and he's beginning to understand that he's committing a crime. And I think that's an important element in his understanding, that I wanted to get. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be this way. Is an interesting comment on him. Okay. Who else? Anybody else? Nobody else? Okay. Then next month, on April 6th, a wonderful film, another Oscar nominee from 2012, Monsieur Lazare.
Billy, is that the Canadian one?
Yes.
Oh my God, I saw that. It was excellent. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, good. So you have a recommendation.
Montreal.
Yeah, exactly. You'll have a recommendation to see it. It's in French.
Yeah.
After a fatal incident at a Montreal middle school, Bashir Lazare, an Algerian immigrant, is hired as a substitute teacher. And it's interesting the way he gets hired. While the class goes through a long process of healing, nobody in the school is aware of Bashir's own painful former life, nor that he is at risk of being deported. But using a great deal of sensitivity and humor, it follows this humble man who is ready to transcend his own loss in order to accompany children on a journey of their own through understanding. It's an enthralling film. It joins a long list of wonderful films about teachers. But this one really hits home because it's so real, and it deals with a sensitive subject, actually two sensitive subjects, the immigration, and another one which will be revealed when you watch the film, and what children go through.
Yeah, don't miss it.
Yeah. I really will look forward to discussing this film on the 6th. I'm sure you'll have something to say to me then, and I will welcome your thoughts on that one. I wish you a good 2 weeks, and I'll look forward to seeing you on April 6th.
Thank you,
everybody.
Thank
This
you.
is terrific. Thank you.
Bye-bye, Meryl.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye now.